Oxford, the university town at the heart of England's academic and intellectual life. A town which over the centuries has been a seat of learning and centre of excellence. It's difficult to imagine a place that seems further removed from the turmoil and suffering of today's victims of forced migration. Yet just north of the town centre, the Refugee Studies Programme at Queen Elizabeth House is making a unique contribution to the study of these human upheavals and is developing a fresh approach to the international response to their plight.
My name is Michael Gilston. I'm Professor of Arab Studies here at Oxford, and I worked in Lebanon as a social anthropologist for a couple of years. So I'm very personally aware of the problems of displaced populations as a result of war and of refugees. It seems to me extremely important that the university plays a major role in the study of refugee situations throughout the world, not purely to turn it into an academic study at all, but to be actively engaged with other agencies and different organizations and with refugee camp organizations, and to address the moral, political, social, economic issues that are so fundamental. And I think Oxford has taken a lead here, and the Refugee Studies Centre has played a really unique role in the few years since its inception. And I've watched it grow into the major academic centre, but I've also been able to watch visitors come in from all over the world, debating intensely practical problems and taking advantages of all the facilities that the centre has been able to generate.
The RSP carries out research and provides teaching, training and public information, thus promoting a better understanding of the causes which create refugees and the strains, both personal and institutional, associated with forced migration and resettlement.
Secondly, I felt they gained a lot of information. But you people are practitioners working in the field.
The RSP was founded in 1982 by its director, Dr. Barbara Harrell-Bond.
How does it translate into your everyday actions? How does it actually change? Well, I want to welcome all of you to the Refugee Studies Programme. This is almost our 10th year of life at Oxford University. The program began in 1982, and it really began in a kind of accidental way, in that I joined Queen Elizabeth House to do a piece of research on voluntary agencies, the humanitarian regime, how it responded to emergencies. And in fact, the emergency that I found was in your country, Southern Sudan, where Ugandans were pouring over the border in 1982 and 83. And someone in Queen Elizabeth House had the idea that it would be a good idea to have a center.
Over the years, the RSP has hosted some 100 visiting fellows, academics, senior practitioners and refugees from over 30 nations. Former visiting research fellow, Dr. Iyad Al-Sarraj, has gone on to establish the Gaza Mental Health Centre. As the only psychiatrist in Gaza, he's providing an important therapeutic service to Palestinian children and their families living in the occupied territories. Amongst other past visiting fellows, Abdel Rahman al-Bashir, former Commissioner for Refugees in the Sudan, went on to work for the UN in Somalia.
When I leave this place, I think I leave it as a different man in terms of knowledge, in terms of experience, and in terms of better understanding to the refugee problem.
Visitors find the multidisciplinary approach offered by the RSP's foundation course to be particularly beneficial.
But I need to be a little more specific, and I think the present course, is one of the best courses I've been to. It not only provides knowledge in regard to nutrition in the sense of what is required for refugees, but the introductory portion, where he deals with the general requirements of health needs of individuals, is a very good approach to narrow it down to the needs of refugees. I mean, if I, as a lawyer, am going to confine myself to legal issues purely, I think I would be failing in my duty towards refugees, because it's very necessary that I get the sense of what's going on in every field, in every aspect relating to refugees, so that I could alert the necessary people. I mean, if I was going to be ignorant in other areas, I think I would be truly not doing the work I need to do. And I think it applies equally to doctors and people in other areas.
What's this notion of human rights in the Soviet state, and in what way does ethnicity enter in as a seed?
Not only does the RSP provide a forum for the exchange of ideas and experiences, but individual and institutional networks are extended.
Characteristic health risks to which these refugees are exposed to. Thank you very much.
Visitors also learn something of life in Oxford. Every year, the RSP has assisted a number of undergraduate students to travel overseas to learn about refugee situations. David Mills is studying human sciences at Merton College.
I went to Sierra Leone last summer, and I'd always thought research was something which sort of scientists with long letters after their names did, and found that really it's a very practical situation where you have to try and understand often confusing problems. And we were looking at the effects of refugee movement after the war from the rebel invasion from Liberia. And it was fascinating trying to understand the local situation, meeting local people. RSP give you the context and the background information and all the resources of the documentation centre, which are really essential to understand the situation you're going into.
The strength of the RSP research programme is it's founded upon the use of a wide range of methodologies drawn from disciplines such as law, psychology, social sciences and history to make a real encounter with a refugee situation and really understand the experiences and constraints upon refugees, local people, officials and aid workers around the world. Our research is undertaken by our own staff, by our research associates and by research fellows, with funding from a wide range of academic, foundation and aid agency bodies. The findings of our research, which are highly valued as an independent assessment of situations, are then circulated through reports, through workshops, through our training activities, as well as through our own publications and independent academic journals.
Working with refugees and displaced people is a major part of Oxfam's work around the world. And obviously we have a major interest in durable solutions to the refugee problems and also how we work better with refugees. And for that, it's terribly important that there are places where governments, UN, the refugees themselves, academics, and the non-government agencies can get together and discuss and learn, and to bring together the research of the academics and the practical experience of the practitioners. And the Refugee Studies Programme gives us exactly that opportunity. And so for us, it's really a most valuable, most essential part of our support.
Short courses and specialist workshops for researchers and practitioners have been held from the beginning. The intensive 4-week summer school for senior management includes modules on international refugee law, management and administration, psychosocial issues and international relations.
There are a multiplicity of hidden agendas
They have a human rights division, a whole division of people working on behalf of human rights in all sorts of areas within these European countries. They have the Court of Human Rights and they have the Commission of Human Rights.
My main reason for coming was believing that my years of working with Vietnamese in particular had narrowed my vision so much that I was unable to see things in the larger perspective, and thusly unable to make sound decisions regarding the global issues that refugees have to face. And the course attracted me mainly for the reason of offering global issues that refugees face, law issues and social issues and management issues. One great insight I've had here is to be able to stand back from my work and look at the different results of decisions that we make while we're trying to help people, the different consequences that may not be so helpful for the refugees themselves. And I think that's only possible to be aware of if you have the privilege of standing back for a while. So a month away from the field work has been wonderful in that I've not been challenged to make daily decisions. I've had a whole month to go home at night and reflect on what I've been doing for the last 10 years.
And also I like the approach because it fits my own thinking that the gap between academia and practitioners should be narrowed. I have a part of my personality that likes to take action, and that's my job in terms of being an administrator with a rather large refugee organization. And at the same time, I find the concepts, the intellectual concepts, both stimulating and reinforcing to my work.
I think this course has been very beneficial for me. The first week was very challenging because especially people involved in work for NGOs were very much put in a position to rethink the kind of work they are doing. If you give aid from a Western point of view, many times you feel that you are doing it to help other people. But of course it's the question, with this kind of aid, are you actually helping the people? Are you maybe implementing something that is in the very end very bad for these people as well?
The British Minister for Overseas Development, Mrs. Linda Chalker, spoke in 1991 to summer school participants on British overseas aid policy.
I hope I've said enough for you to realise that I see this as an incredibly important work. The scope of the problems is enormous. I hope your studies will help you to find good solutions in the countries in which you're working. I hope you're enjoying and benefiting from your studies here, and I hope that when you go back to your work, you will find many useful experiences shared and perhaps gained from other students that you can put into practice.
The building of an institutional memory is vital to the improvement of refugee assistance. RSP's specialist library contains some 10,000 documents and has become a major international resource. The programme publishes books and academic papers, and in addition produces the quarterly newsletter of the Refugee Participation Network, distributed free to some 2,000 members in 75 countries. The Journal of Refugee Studies, published by Oxford University Press, is edited by Dr. Roger Zetter.
It is the first and still the only academic journal concerned with refugee studies and issues of forced migration. And the main objective of the journal is to provide a major focus for the publication and dissemination of research on refugees and forced migrants.
Refugee-related topics are covered at weekly seminars which are open to the public. A major symposium held each year looks at key international issues. In 1991, the nutrition crisis facing many refugees dependent on food aid was addressed. The keynote address, which called on the new world order to make food security a priority, was given by His Royal Highness Crown Prince Hassan of Jordan.
If minimum humanitarian standards are to be applied to war victims in the many different situations that are being faced by today's world, the Refugee Studies Programme, in its objectivity in bringing in people of many different nationalities, and particularly from the affected South, attempting to educate them to the importance of the overlap between humanitarian concerns, whether in terms of food security, whether in terms of medicine, whether in terms of the exercise of that legal human right to be recognized not as categories of refugees, displaced persons, immigrants, migrants, asylum seekers, but to be recognized above all as human beings. And I think the objectivity of an impartial center with the integrity and the balance that can focus these issues is vital at this time. The difficulty that we face in the international humanitarian community, when we speak of humanitarian intervention, is the institutional rivalry often found between international organizations, whether in the United Nations system or in the non-governmental organization system. And it is for precisely that reason that we need to promote a humanitarian ethos, a humanitarian ethic, and to continue in the good work initiated so many years ago by the Independent Commission for Humanitarian Issues. It's ironic to be told of an international order coming in the wake of an economic order, information order, environmental order, and yet the humanitarian component of this international order is so sadly lacking.
What about the impact of the interventions of these NGOs? Well,
the RSP has grown from a budget of 40,000 sterling in 1984 to now having to raise more than 10 times as much each year. It has to pay for salaries, rent and overheads to the university.
I think that
with the exception of one foundation which has made a 5-year commitment, there's still no long-term financial security to support the work you've seen.
A little bit about myself. You will think it very strange that a Chinese...
In 1989, Dr. Sui Chai-ang was the speaker at RSP's annual Human Rights Lecture and gave a moving account with slides of her work as an orthopedic surgeon amongst the Palestinians in Lebanon.
I believe in a peace with justice. I believe in a peace with love. And I believe that it's possible to live with each other in mutual recognition. It might not be during my lifetime, but I know it is possible. And I want to leave this message with you, because as a refugee, I know that one day refugees become human beings. And I know that camps become towns, and I know that occupied areas become countries. Thank you very much.